on the right track because I am failing.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you make words or things that people say to you mean? What do you make the thoughts that you think mean? Like,
that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could go on for days.
Oh yeah. 2 days ago I shared, I think it was an Amy Porterfield post, but I could be wrong, but I love her.
Yeah.
But it was on, her goal was to fail 100 times in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that concept because nobody loves failure, but everybody is going to have failure. So to your point, what are you going to make that failure mean? I make it mean I'm one step closer to my goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to get comfortable with failing. Nobody likes to fail because it's uncomfortable. But if you can just not make it mean that, and then start to comfortably get yourself uncomfortable, then your comfort zone grows.
It does.
Yeah.
And also it's a fun game. Of course, sometimes I get devastated by failure. I actually was on one YouTube channel and somebody had given me a thumbs down on a video, and I was combing through the analytics. Who gave me a thumbs down? My husband's like, you have 400 likes and you're focusing on the one dislike.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I am.
Yeah. And you're like, okay, I need to refocus because my focus goes, my energy flows, my results. So yeah.
But like that, it takes having somebody like you or other people in the group to be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. Come on. Let's pull you out of that mental space, that mental vacuum that you're in.
Yeah. And what have you learned from that?
Mm-hmm.
Probably something good, probably something valuable, Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that is perfect. Okay. So you spent a couple of years kind of in the corporate.
Yes.
You
all
had
of
this hobby.
4 months.
That's okay. I was 10 years in the legal field. That was long enough.
Oh my gosh.
If had it only been 24 months, I probably would be a happier person. No, it was all good. So you make this jump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there were some stressful moments where you really questioned your own decision.
Mm.
Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about that and what you did personally to overcome some of those, I'm a failure, what am I thinking, thoughts that you may have had?
Yes. So, oh goodness. Okay. When I started at Target, and this will be a little bit longer of an explanation because I really want to paint the picture. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was in West Des Moines, Iowa. And this is nothing about Target. I think Target as a company is a fantastic company. I learned so much, but in the moment I was a 22-year-old individual straight out of college. They paid really well for living in Iowa, being 22. You had a lot of responsibility. And I was so, I didn't really hit that point until, I was 5-6 months in. I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss in some capacity, and I didn't want to have to listen to other people. And one of the reasons is because growing up, I always saw my parents. It's a very blue collar city where I'm from. And they were always at the mercy of the clock and the company that they worked at. And so I remember thinking, I was like, okay, I want to have my own freedom and independence in that capacity. And so I always knew that, but it wasn't until right before fourth quarter. So I started working at Target in June 2010. And it really hit me. Like, it was just a chaotic morning. And it was a weekend, and so much was going on that I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, this can't be the rest of my life. Like, I can't be this stressed out. And part of it was what I was making things mean, right? I was a little bit more emotional than I am now at 31. 9 years ago, it was like the world was like a chaos, I guess. I don't know. And
drama. Yeah,
it was drama. And, but I was thankful and lucky at the time that I had a mentor Adam, that I was able to see that he was living a life that it wasn't fake. He had time freedom, financial freedom. He had a family and all this stuff that I was like, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. And I really do believe that you can't be what you can't see. And so that is also why you need to surround yourself with people, listen to podcasts such as this one, and really gain and build that confidence that you can do it. But I had probably spent a solid 3-4 months at Target from December up until, I don't know, March, really just being dramatic in my mind about like, oh my gosh, I was 1 foot on the dock, 1 foot on the boat. I need to leave. I need to get out of here. I almost quit my job. And then my friend's mom was like, you're not quitting without another job. You're crazy. Because in my mind, I was like, whatever, I'll just go work at Starbucks as long as I can pay my student loan. Like, I'll move back home, which the thought of moving back home after I had been living out of not at home, like freaked me out. Like that was more pain. I was like, no, I really like my independence.
Right.
And but it was in that moment and the situation where it was, sometime in May that I had finally, this is a year later, May 2011. And I was sitting at the kitchen table in my apartment in West Des Moines. And I remember it was a Monday. I'd just gotten off a 12-hour leader on duty. They call it LOD, where you're running the entire operations. And I was sitting there in the dark eating my dinner. I don't know, maybe 6:30 it was. And I had worked, I think like 11 out of the past 14, 13 days. And they were just such long days. And that was the moment that the straw broke the camel's back. And I was listening to a sermon. I started bawling. I'm like, okay, this is enough pain that like I need to do something about it. But there was that struggle because I had been praised for the performance that I was doing. I was on the hypo track to become a store owner. You're going to make 6 figures. I had just gotten a 20% raise based on my performance and ability to manage talent, like all this stuff. And I think that's a realistic thing that happens because in corporate, your job becomes your identity. And I see it with people who are my age and close friends is they're in these amazing, like multi 6-figure paying jobs. They're like really like an expert and they're really good at their job that it's a total ego shift and it's a total identity shift. And so for me in that little moment, I knew for me, I was like, okay, I need to like take this leap. And so then when I made the decision that I was leaving Target, that's when the opportunity showed up. I took I went through a third-party agency and got a interim position at Wells Fargo, which that was actually the scarier leap. And that the reason why is because I lost all my benefits. I had 0 PTO. I had no retirement program. I had to do that on my own. And then I took my pay cut. So I got a job at a gym so I didn't have to pay for a gym membership and then I could read. And but through that transition, I actually met the guy who gave me the opportunity to become a contractor on his bench. And then I was able to network with like about 5 other companies who then hired me on their projects. And so that was when I took the leap. And I think there was definitely a moment when I became a full-time freelance contractor in 2012. It was April 2012. I got a call from Chad. He said, I have a project with AT&T. Do you want a seat at the table? It wasn't even confirmed. I said yes. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but it felt aligned. And I walked in, gave my 2 weeks notice, and then I was like flying out to San Diego. It was the first 3 months that I was traveling around the country every single week, facilitating content, facilitating sales that I had never done sales. I didn't even know how to facilitate. I was really good on my feet. I can speak fairly decent, yet I was like, you're managing entire rooms of 25 to 30 people who are looking at you as like, who's this 24-year-old in front of me? And you have to win their heart and mind in a matter of seconds. And I remember thinking probably, like I said, a handful of months after that, I was like, well, I could still go back and get my job. I could still go back and be an HR recruiter and all this, but it was because I lacked confidence in my skill set and what I was doing. And that was probably the one specific time that I could remember going back into corporate. I think there's always moments along your entrepreneurial journey, especially in the beginning, because you haven't built up that. There's going to be moments where you're like, ooh, maybe it would just be easier to go get a corporate job and I would have a set salary, because right now I'm eating like ramen and I could be eating pasta at a restaurant, like a nice one. But it's continuing to believe in yourself, surround yourself by people who are being authentic and sharing that initial journey about, because entrepreneurship, it's not always easy. And if it was, everyone would do it. And it's not the most glamorous. And even when you think you figured something out, there's still another thing to figure out. The problems don't go away. They just become different problems. And you also learn how to manage your emotions so that you're not high and low about a problem, this and that. And so that would be, I don't have those thoughts as much as I used to, for sure. Like I don't have them anymore because you know what? It's the revenue's coming in and the business is being built and it is growing. But in the beginning, yeah, there are definitely moments where I'm like, maybe I should just go back. And I was like, no, I'm not going back. I can't do this. And you stick it out, you stick anything out long enough, you'll figure it out and you'll make it happen.
Right. And the grass is always greener on the other side, you know?
Yeah. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, there is that idea. And I'm glad you said that. Thank you for validating that, because I'm guessing there's listeners out there who are thinking, yeah, well, I tried it for 3 weeks or,
my gosh. I will tell you, it floors me when people, and I get it. I've always been someone that I when I do something, I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to see the immediate result. Like, why do I have to wait a month to see if this works? Like, why? Yet at the same time, it's also super naive to think that if you want to build something, if you want to replace your income, if you want to create a business, that it's going to happen overnight. That you might want to reconsider or learn how to build up the muscle to the patient's muscle and also continue moving forward. I know one of my friends she was a lawyer and she was a certified financial planner. She started blogging. She made $8,000 in her first year, then 45. And then last year she hit over 165,000. And she'll get requests all the time of like, okay, so if I take your course, like how long it really took you 2 years or 3 years to make $45,000. Like, I don't want to wait that long. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like, lawyers and doctors, you guys go to school for a very, like a longer period of time. And, when you hit your stride, it's similar to business owners. Like you have to start somewhere. So the secret to getting started is getting started, because the sooner you start, the sooner you're going to get through those phases. And just don't put pressure on yourself, or don't make it mean anything aside from like it's part of the process. And the faster, more effective you do it, the sooner you're going to get the results that you want.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I like when you said you took a job at the gym.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You got to read, you got to work out for free. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I believe people think they will step in to this glamorous, glitzy, jet-setting lifestyle.
What? I want to go on a jet.
Right.
I haven't been on one yet.
No, exactly. And it's hard.
Yeah.
I did, in my work, I do the whole mind, body, fitness thing, getting women almost prepped to see you is what I'm thinking. Because I help people break out of that corporate identity, because what you said is right on. You become your job. I am a lawyer. I'm not Laura. I'm a lawyer, man.
Right. I go to battle and I do this and that. And this is what makes me significant in my job and my life. And it's a danger. It's dangerous if you let it control you. That's why it's so important. That's why the work that you do is so important, because it really helps people find significance, not necessarily in what they do, but through contribution, through growth, through love from your family members and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the validity that I am no longer this, I am still me, I am more me, I am making this choice to step into this entrepreneurial role. At this moment, I might need a part-time job at Wells Fargo. At this moment, I may choose to work in a club to get these benefits. At this moment, I may choose to go work at Starbucks. It's not that you're failing, it's
smart. Yeah, no, it's being smart. I mean, I did a lot. I still did. Last year I did 4 contract gigs, and that was more of, a choice that I made that I wanted to do because I enjoyed it. But I was like, hey, I'm not opposed to making extra income so that I can reinvest it into my business. Like there's absolutely no shame. And even this year, like I'm still open to doing it because I'm like, you know what? That gives me more money that I can then pay VAs, because then I'm constantly replacing myself so that at the end of the day, I'm building this business that can run without me. And like, I know so many women that have gotten, jobs at bars, working in the restaurant industry while they're building their business because they'd work at it at night and then they work in their business during the day. And that's how they support them. And there's no shame in that. And like anyone who says differently it's just then, I mean, that is the spirit of an entrepreneur who's willing to do those things in order to live the life that they want and build the business that they want.
Right. And you mentioned earlier too about being in this online space. I too tend to get stuck in the online space. It's when I step out into the real world that I expand my network, and then I meet other women who do need my services because I was at Target or because I was at the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, that's a way to look at it for some of the women who might be listening and thinking, I don't know. Live your life. That's where you make connections.
Amen, sister.
Yeah. Amen. Okay. So going back to the title, she did it her way and all of that stuff. You help women step into their leadership potential. You help give them skills. You help give them the mindset shift, stuff like that. How much of it, and this is like a double-edged sword.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh, I know.
Ooh, love it. No questions ahead of time, but here she goes.
No, exactly. Gotcha. No.
I see why you don't give them ahead of time. No,
No, it's nice to have a roadmap. It's nice to have the tools and the techniques, and this is how you do it, and this is what I did, blah, blah, blah. But it is also nice to do things your way. What is the balance between